Hello, and welcome to our webinar today, 20 Years of Online Education with King's InterHigh. And I'm here today with Catriona Olsen, Executive Head of King's InterHigh. Hi, Catriona.
Hi, Fiona. Lovely to be here.
It's brilliant to see you, and this is obviously a really exciting time for King's InterHigh celebrating their 20th anniversary as an online school. So it's great to be talking to you at this sort of pivotal moment. And just for those listening and watching, this is designed for any parents considering online education for their children. That's in the UK, round the world, obviously, and students who are interested themselves in flexible high quality education and where they might go in the future. And also, warmly, King's InterHigh are encouraging EdTech professionals and education enthusiasts to really join in and find out about the innovation that's going on in the online education sector. So over to you then, Catriona. I'll just read a little bit about your bio, which is obviously very impressive and always makes people squirm. But anyway, I mean, you're the executive head of King's InterHigh. And so how many years have you been in that post now?
For nearly 2 years now as executive head, and before that, for 2 years as the head of the senior school. So that's the GCSE years. So I've been with King's InterHigh nearly 4 years now.
Yes, and your qualifications, your BA Information Systems Management and University of Edinburgh postgraduate. What else would you like to add to that?
I think it's probably relative to your audience is that I have experience from around the world, from Scotland to England to South Africa, and now in the online sphere as well.
Oh, brilliant. Good. So up to speed with everything. And I know it's challenging for everyone to keep up, but you really must have to be on your toes in your role. Right. So let's go back to the very early days of King's InterHigh. And we've been fortunate enough to be following some of your growth over the years. So what was online education like, say, 20 years ago?
Yeah, so if you think back to 20 years ago, that we're talking 2005, we had our first cohort of students, 20 students that started with us in September 2005. The If you think the internet was actually still in its infancy then, if you think about it, I personally, the first time I ever went on the internet was 1999. So just 6 years later, there was an internet high school created by our founder, Paul Daniels. And he had the absolutely fantastic idea of teaching students live using the internet. Now, obviously, it was probably a lot clunkier than we have right now and the systems that we have in place right now, but there were live lessons every day taught mostly by Paul himself in that first year as a science specialist. And our students joined us from the UK. We had a platform for them to join. We had a system for them to submit their work. We even had a community where we had a common room that they could speak to each other as well. So from very humble, quite basic probably beginning to the school we are now, the journey has been fantastic.
Brilliant. And the 20 years anniversary of that as you're celebrating, what are the biggest milestones, do you think, on the King's InterHigh journey?
Yeah, well, there's so much to go through for 20 years. Obviously, our first GCSEs were in 2007. So obviously we had our 2-year cohort coming through. Then our first A-levels were in 2009. We moved out of our founder's kind of at-home office and into an office building in Crickhowell in Wales in 2015. And a school platform was developed, which would really look and feel a lot more like our school today, where students have one place to go for all of their resources and to access their lessons and timetable and everything that they want. We opened an exam centre in 2019. We introduced primary school in 2020. And then, of course, COVID happened in 2020 for most of us. And that really seen the growth in our school because everyone's exposure to that emergency online education really did legitimize online learning as a valid method of learning for our parents. And we've grown from strength to strength since. We had our first international baccalaureate diploma program students fully online. and we're in our third cohort now. It was 3 years ago. And we also had our very first online exam as well in 2023. So growth, very rapid growth and development over those 20 years to celebrate.
And anything else you want to mention about the evolution from the student's perspective?
Yeah, so obviously from the student's perspective, in 2021, we kind of changed the format or the structure of how we ran our school to really try and emulate the bricks and mortar school environment, introduced assemblies, tutor groups, clubs and societies, outings and trips. Already had some, but really tried to ingrain them into our day-to-day offer to our students. And again, that has really grown since then as well.
Brilliant. And so, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions people have about online schooling, and how have you addressed them?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's something that we have to answer all the time. I think the biggest misconception that people have is either that it's the emergency online education that their children went through in COVID, or that it can be quite a lonely self-learning type environment. So what we always have to tell people is, no, we are a fully functioning school and everything that goes with that, but just in the online environment. So your children engage live with their teachers all day in live timetabled lessons. They engage with their peers as they would, and that we give them as much as we can, very similar to the bricks and mortar school environment. I think another kind of misconception is that the quality wouldn't be as good. But we have fully qualified, highly experienced teachers, and the feedback we get from parents once they start with us is that the quality of the teaching and learning that we provide their students is fantastic, and we drive and push for that every day as well, and continue to improve with that as well.
And are all the students experiencing the similar sort of thing? So, are they all having some live during the day and some studying on their own? How does that work? Or do you have bespoke sort of programs for individuals and groups of pupils?
So we kind of have two ways that you can learn. The majority of our students will learn synchronously, so joining live lessons and engaging live with their teachers and their peers. But we have students who join us as what we call library learners, so asynchronous learning. And they will access the recordings of lessons, and they will access the resources outside of lesson time. They're still expected to engage. They're still expected to do their homework and to do their assessments and to engage with their teachers. They can join us live for lessons, but they do make use of our recorded lessons. And then we have students who kind of do a combination of both. They may come to us. For example, we've got some students who are sports people. So they may have a competition for 2 weeks. So they'll be a library learner for those 2 weeks, and then the rest of the time they'll join us live. So we've got that flexibility there for students as well.
And I suppose there are lots of other areas that young people are involved in. It could be music, it could be that they have a particular strength in one subject. So technology, do you particularly draw together very technologically aware students?
Well, again, it's a real combination of students. You know, being an online school, we do harness the power of technology in our teaching and learning. We will have students who will need more support with that than others. In fact, it's mostly the parents that need the most support and students do. But we've got an induction program in place where students join us. We teach them how to use the software. We've got lots of guides, lots of how-tos, lots of support available for students if they struggle. But 9 times out of 10, the students are able to pick it up and go with it. And then we do have to educate parents a little bit to be able to support their children with online education as well.
And of course, parents are very aware at the moment about their young people having too much screen time. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's
Or
really.
how do you cope with it at all, really?
Yeah, so one way that we do as a school is we don't have we don't have a student in timetable lessons for the 8 periods of the day that we have. We will always build in some free periods for students to be able to get up and get away from the screen. When the student is in our virtual school, they are only accessing what they're allowed to access for our school, and in our teaching environments or our classroom environment, the teacher can see if the student is engaged or not. We've got an engagement meter, so we can see when, they're engaging, if they're not engaging on the camera or the mic. A little bit different from a bricks and mortar school in the fact that, we can't see if the student has the phone there beside them. So what we always say to parents is, as a parent in an online school, you do need to be a little bit more involved than you would be in a bricks and mortar school, and having those parental controls on devices to ensure that your child is, not distracted by them during the school day.
That sort of leads me to think about different ages of children. Can you just give us a broad idea of ages, and or whether you make exceptions for different aptitudes? How does that work?
Yes, so we start in year 3, which is 7 turning 8. And we had a class teacher model for year 3, 4, 5, and 6, so primary school. And, we do teach them how to use our system, how to engage in their learning. And again, parents would need to be a little bit more involved with that age group. And then we had year 7 all the way up to year 13. So we got up to 18, 19-year-olds in our school. So full range from year 3 all the way up to year 13.
And do those younger children, do you expect they're being supervised by someone in the home?
Yes, we do. For those, especially year 3, year 4, year 5, they would have to be supervised by a parent. So obviously that's not possible from all parents. Then from year 7 upwards, it really depends on the home situation, the maturity of the child, where the child is situated. So we do have conversations with parents about, the safety of their child and the well-being of their child, and whether they can be left alone and for what amount of time they could be left alone. And we really do take the safeguarding of our children, very seriously. So always there to support parents and engage with parents on that as well.
And can you just give us a little more detail on the curriculums that are available to the different age levels?
Yes, no problem. So we're generally a British international curriculum. So we do follow the national curriculum for Key Stage 2. So that's primary, upper primary, and Key Stage 3, touching on some elements of NYP in Key Stage 3, but generally it's our UK national curriculum. And then we go into international GCSEs for year 10 and year 11. And then in our 6th form, we've split into our A-levels, or international A-levels, and also the IBDP program. So the students have a choice there of the 2 different pathways. Very soon, actually in August, we are also expanding to the US very excitedly, opening our King's InterHigh USA school, and they will be delivering the US curriculum and MP curriculum there.
So that's really the international parents who we hope are taking this all on board. There's really something for pretty much everyone when you've got those 3 curriculums covered.
There really is, and especially at, GCSE, A-level, IBDP level, where you have your children can study that same curriculum that students study around the world. I think over 160 countries, we've got the British International Curriculum. They are recognised by your chosen pathway, whether that be university or whatever it is in your area. You've got that certificate for your GCSE, for your A-level, for your IB, that proves that you have, passed or gotten your grades in those internationally recognized curriculum. So that is why a lot of families do come to us. They come to us for that continuity of that British curriculum and that recognized curriculum. And obviously they'll come to us for the US curriculum as well once we open.
And obviously, busy families are responding to how their jobs and roles dictate around the world. So it's not always neatly at the beginning of an academic year. So how do you respond if a family's got to be often moved to a different location? Are you able to accept them midterm, or how would that work?
Yeah, and that's we have a lot of students that join us throughout the year because of that exact reason, relocating, going to a different country. So we have a big program in place where we do student inductions, and we also support students with what we call gap analysis, looking at what you've studied previously, what we've covered, and seeing if there's any gaps. And of course, the joy of the online system is that a student can go back if there's any gaps and look at the resources and engage with the resources as well. So we successfully enroll students throughout the year in all of our year groups, when and if there is the need for it.
And do you partner up with any local schools in the area?
So we are a part of Inspired Education Group, who have 119 different schools all around the world. And so we often have students that will join us before moving on to one of those schools, or join us because they want to keep in the Inspired Education Group, but there's not one of the schools in their region. So we do partner with them a lot. If students want to write their exams in person, then we also partner with them to go write their exams there as well. But we also can write exams online, as I said earlier. One of our milestones was being able to offer IGCSEs online as well.
And what about technology and in the future? You must be continually looking ahead to see how things are developed. What's exciting you most about forward thinking? So you've had 20 years, but what do you think is going to evolve over 20 years, and how are these going to impact on your school?
Yeah, if you think about the development in the last 20 years, to even contemplate what the development in 20 years' time is going to be is quite mind-blowing. But, we know as a large online school that we need to harness the power of technology, and we already do. We already have a wide use of VR and AR in our classrooms, in our IBDP program, where students do their practicals through VR headsets. So we're already engaging with that. More and more, we will be developing our AI and use of AI. Obviously, need to think around the ethics of that and how we engage in that. But you can never fight against technology. Technology will power on. You've got to engage with it, work with it, use its benefits to your students' benefits and to your teachers' benefits as well. And so I'll see the school moving forward, being able to engage our students all around the world, being able to immerse them into situations where they never would be able to in a bricks and mortar school. So just one example of a science experiment that we have is where students go to Mars and they test gravity in Mars. I mean, what school can you do for it?
And can you give us a little bit more on the reality of how you do that?
Yeah, so we have VR lessons that we have built, and students and VR software that we use, and students all have the VR headsets, as do the teachers. And we build the lessons, and students all join those VR lessons, and they do experiments in those VR spaces. We have another one that's measuring velocity in physics, where they go on a roller coaster. Actually, we also use that one for maths as well, where the students run a roller coaster as well. I'm just thinking of all the ones I was in. In biology, they can go into a human heart and into the parts of the human heart. I mean, I remember my biology when I was at school having to, get a heart from the butcher and cutting into it. Whereas now you just have to put on your VR headset and you can really immerse yourself in really learning from that, and then having that deep understanding for your assessments. The development is fantastic, and I can only see that growing and emerging more and more as technology advances.
Well, that sounds amazing. And then the other thing that parents are also keen about is the language opportunities. And if they come from a family where they speak a lot of different languages as a native language, and or taking advantage of a country they may be visiting for a few years,
Yeah.
how do you cope with getting young people up to speed on particular languages or in English itself? So supporting other languages, native language, and getting them up to speed with English, which I assume is what all the curriculums are taught in.
Yes, that is our language medium is through English, but we are a worldwide now school, so we do have students that join us with English as an additional language. So we have an enhanced service that students can join if they need to increase their kind of academic English, is what we call it, to be able to access their learning. So we can offer that enhanced service to those students as well. We also have all of our teachers are teach through what we call quality first teaching, not what we call, everyone calls it quality first teaching, so that our lessons, you can engage in them. But again, that's going back to the technology part of it as well, is that students can turn on closed captions live when their teacher is teaching. So they can also read what their teacher is saying. They can also go back to the lesson recordings and pause if they need to translate or decipher what the teacher was saying. So we do find that students very quickly are able to increase their academic English and be able to engage in their learning.
And then what about the future for them, the modern world beyond academics? How do you prepare them for that?
We spend a lot of time and energy on it, actually. Well, we call it our careers guidance, but it's as you say, what the future outside of school. And we actually start that down in the primary school by teaching students about different careers and what they all mean. And then going up into the secondary school, then we allow students to have virtual work experience. Yes, that exists as well. And our students in Southeast Asia are doing a virtual work experience week through another platform that we engage with. We do a lot of kind of how to present yourself to roles. We do a lot of CVs, interview skills, the kind of things that your bricks and mortar school would do, as well as an online school as well. But I think students that come to us, we do support them with however we can with our platform, with like to-do lists and really intuitive system. But they all have a certain amount of independence in doing that. They know how to access the system. They become really proficient in the software. And so we're already ingraining those kind of workplace skills in them through them coming to our online school, and that independence away from having, a one-to-one teacher or whatever the case may be.
Well, it all sounds very exciting. And what are you actually doing on the celebrations for the school and for the students? Are you having a one particular day you're doing something, or is it spread throughout?
Well, it's all still in the planning, definitely all still in the planning. But definitely we'll have some kind of birthday party with some cake that has to happen for our 20th anniversary. And yeah, lots of different activities throughout the year. We want to have this as a celebration for our community, as a celebration for online learning and the longevity and the legitimacy of online learning. So yeah, we want our students to be involved, our teachers to be involved, our parents to be involved, and to really show everyone that online learning is a really high quality, fantastic way to learn. So yeah, lots of planning in there, but definitely a bit of cake and a celebration.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Catriona, for talking us through everything. It's very exciting to be talking to someone on the cutting edge of online learning. And of course, it's a brilliant opportunity for international parents to find a solution when they are moving around the world or based in a particular country where their child has a need to concentrate on whatever that may be. So thank you so much for joining us, and very best wishes for the 20th anniversary. And of course, how will people get in touch?
Yes, thanks, Fiona. Thanks. I really enjoyed speaking to you today as well. You can go to our website. It's www.kingsinterhigh.co.uk /contact. But it's just there on your screen for you, so you'll be able to click on it by going to our website.
Brilliant. Well, it all sounds fascinating. So have a great year, and it was lovely to meet you.
Thanks, Fiona.
So I've been talking to Catriona Olsen, Executive Head of King's InterHigh. And as you heard, new student inquiries can be directed to the website, and also follow them on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Fiona Murchie, founder and managing editor of Relocate Global, and I've been talking to Catriona Olsen today. You can keep up with all things education by referring to Relocate Global and Think Global People websites, and joining us for lots of content and resources throughout the year. Goodbye.